What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So Lucid has opened quite a few studios in the States, Canada, and also Europe. But there's one studio in particular that is going to be a very big deal for Lucid. So I want to share that with you. And over and above that, though, I'm going to go over some of the bullish signals that's being made very apparent today. So I'm going to go over all the stuff you need to know. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And without further ado, let's get right to it. So currently it is up 5.39%. So a lot of good positive stuff happening in that regard today. But I'll go in depth a little bit more on the technicals. Starting off, Lucid did tweet this, saying Lucid Motors opens first retail studio in Oslo, Norway. And I have actually brought up Norway in the past because almost about 83% of all their vehicle sales are EVs. So that is a huge amount of demand. And I absolutely really value that about Lucid, that they're trying to go to all the markets that have a huge amount of demand. And so that is why this studio is going to be a very big deal, because not only are they going to be satisfying Norway, which has a huge amount of demand, but it's going to also satisfy the demand for Northern Europe. And even going back to Norway for 1 second, this is the stats going to show the previous EV sales versus the forecast. So you can see all the way up to till 2027. That is a massive amount of demand. Based on even 2023, it's roughly about 60%, give or take, or potentially a little bit higher than that, on the huge amount of growth. So not only is it already pre-existing amount of demand huge in Norway, but is continuing to grow. So I think in general, Lucid is making the very smart decision to have the studio in Oslo. So once again, let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. But outside of that, though, there is actually a lot of good bullish signals that's making itself very apparent today. One of which is the technicals. So starting off on the technicals, it is actually starting to break past that 50-day moving average right now, which of course Lucid has always really struggled with. Looking on some of the actual indicators though, stochastic is currently at 18, which is very oversold. Number of retail investors are getting in today. A lot of big money is buying. So as you can see, these are all the transactions on the secondary market. So a lot of big money, and keep in mind, this is a Friday. Normally, big money doesn't necessarily buy as much as they normally should, nor is there a large amount of actual options activity. So I'll share that with you in a second. And this is all the transactions so far on the dark pool. A lot of people don't like the dark pool because it's very much linked to shorting and stuff like that. So I'll give you an update in that in a second. But as far as this is all the options activity today, a lot of which is very much calls being purchased. More specifically, these two right here. So these two very large candles, or chart sticks, or whatever they are. So as you can see right here, just this alone within this 5 minutes between 8:50 and 8:55, there was $223,000 worth of call premium. So that's absolutely huge, massive. And even right here, this one was $147,000. And of course, majority of which is the $10 and $11 strike prices within 2 weeks from now, so March the 17th. So clearly someone is anticipating a continuation of a rally, which of course, if you do look on the technicals, if it can successfully get past this 50-day moving average, then yeah, most likely it will go to around the $11 range, in my opinion. But keep in mind, I'm not a financial advisor, so do your own due diligence at the end of the day. So I think right now, based on, for instance, a lot of these studios and so forth, that does validate that there is a lot of continued long-term demand for Lucid. And Lucid is going to do a lot of good things. Short-term has been very volatile, of course, based on the recent earnings. And I'm also going to be doing a video over the weekend to talk on this recent 10K forum. So there is some things, interesting things that was brought up here. So stay tuned for that. I'll do that over the weekend. But I just want to share some additional things with you. Like I said with shorts are actually returning 2.9 million shares. And today actually marks a very interesting day, because normally when Lucid does go up, for instance, shorts double down. They try to suppress it. Often fail, but in today's case, it looks like they're actually kind of giving up. So once again, that's something to factor in. So they're returning 2.9 million shares right now. 21.42% is the short interest, which is a percentage of the free float. 139.03 million shares is in fact being shorted. And just to put that in perspective on how big that actually is, there's $1.21 billion worth of shorts out there. So in general, Lucid has been suppressed for a very long time. So make sure you guys take advantage. If you do believe in Lucid long term, take advantage of these discounted prices. I don't know how much longer they will last. And even more so on the latest Morningstar report as well, it does look like the fair market value for Lucid is $17.54. So once again, you guys can do your own interpretation based on all of that. And of course, I think even a lot of the analyst ratings that have been coming out as a result of the recent earnings weren't necessarily the best, but I think they are very conservative if you want to consider it that way. On a side note, if you do like analyst ratings and a lot of this information, click on the link in the description below. I do have a link to them. But for instance here, Citigroup did give a rating yesterday, so it didn't really fall in line with the other analysts coming from their earnings, but they gave a 1150 target, and this was by 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗚𝗧𝗛, if I'm saying the right name, but 45% success rate. Of course, that's not necessarily the best. Adam Jonas, for instance, is 49%. So of course, everyone's favorite bearish individual. But generally speaking, I think a lot of these price targets are very, very conservative. So right now, the average is $9.64. So I do feel that honestly, that Morningstar update, so around the $17 range, is very realistic if they can actually ramp up to roughly around 30,000. So in my head, I still do feel that they can easily get their whole production issues under control, so they can actually start to produce a lot more pure, so no more bottlenecking or anything like that, and hopefully ramp up their actual production to around the 30,000. Because of course, as far as the year end, they can do at max 62,000. That's just the basic math based on with the phase 2 being completed by June-ish, so first half of 2022. But generally speaking, I think right now is a very good time to buy, and there is a lot of good bullish signals, like I said. So based on the huge amount of buying that's been happening, options activity, very abnormal options activity, call options, and the technicals. So a lot of good things is happening behind the scenes. Just patience. Patience is the best thing to do with Lucid. And of course, short term sucks a little bit. And even if you scroll out a little bit more, it has sucked over the last little bit. But I think bigger picture, this is where once Lucid does get a good foundation, it can easily go up very, very fast. But once again, these videos are for entertainment purposes only, so make sure you guys do your own due diligence, because of course, when Lucid does go down, it really tests individuals' patience and their own due diligence. So for instance, if you're relying only on myself or someone else and it's going down, you're really going to second guess your investment. So once again, let me know your thoughts on all that in the comments below. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. If you do like my Lucid content, want to support the channel, take a look at my memberships, link in the description below, or just hit the join button at the bottom of the screen. With that said, appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.